Hi, everyone. I wasn't sure if I was actually live or not. Hi, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to be talking with you about games and activities that you can use in your EFL classroom that don't just teach your kids English, but they actually help them grow. So if you're ready to learn more about that, stick around. This is a live, which means that I should have my glasses handy. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat to make sure that I'm answering any questions that may be coming in. But anyways, last week's live, we touched on the subject of chatty kids, okay, and what to do when you've got chatty kids in your classroom. And one of the things that came up was an activity that I did, that I still do, actually, I should say, in my English is Fun classes. And one of my followers was really curious to know what it was all about. And this activity is what I call the poster, or as it's otherwise known in my English is Fun program, the room decor. So before I get into that, let me just make sure here that I am doing everything right, because I'm not techie. You know that. I am not very techie. Anyways, what is this room decor activity that I talked about last week? Well, it's a poster. And when you're teaching EFL, I think one of the main problems that teachers may have is that they put too much stuff in their room. Now, if you're working in a regular school, and by regular school, I mean like an all-day school, of course, your classroom is going to have decorations. It's going to have the children's work on the walls, or, globes, or whatever it is that you have in the classroom. But when you're teaching privately, and my method English is Fun was born to help out those teachers that do teach privately, either in language schools or in private venues like at their home or their kids' homes or something like that. And when you're teaching privately, I think one of the worst things that you can do is actually put a lot of stuff in your room, because the more the kids are distracted and the more things they have to, look around and talk about or be curious about, the less they will be paying attention to you. So the only thing I like to have on the wall in my classroom are these posters. And they are the posters that the children create. I call them the room decor because they decorate your room. And these posters, basically, what we do with the children is we add something to them every week that is kind of a, I guess, symbolic of what we already talked about like the week before. And it can kind of introduce some new topics that we're going to talk about. Now, that's just to give you an overall idea. These posters can be very colorful. They can be painted, decorated, however you want. And they are the only decorations we have in the room. So for me, they're kind of like a trampoline. It's a starting point for my lesson. It tells me where I'm going, what I've done, and what I will be doing. However, that's just, on the surface. Underneath, the poster activity hides a myriad of goodies. And these goodies are the learning skills that the children will develop when we do this activity. So let me just tell you, but before I do that, let me just remind everyone here that I live in Italy, teach preschoolers and early elementary children English as a foreign language. So that's the age group that I'm working with. I don't know about you guys, so let me know in the comments below what age group you're working with. So just write that down so I have an idea of kind of who I'm talking to. Anyways, the various skills that we're working on when we do the poster. For example, we have fine motor skills. Okay, so what do I mean? I mean, the children are going to maybe cut out some stuff, or color some stuff, or paste little things, or make little wads of tissue paper with their hands and glue everything onto these little sheets that they're then going to go up to the poster and put up on the poster, I should say, and glue up on the poster. Now, that's all great. And you might think, oh, okay, they're just coloring again. And that's not true. Coloring again is not what's going on. when we're learning, when the children are developing their learning skills, they are growing. They are really growing. We can't concentrate just on listening skills or speaking skills, reading and writing. That's great. And those are all of the that's all of the parts of the linguistic domain. But the children's learning skills are so many, and they are developing, at different paces for every child. So I have to respect that when I work with kids. I can't just concentrate on the linguistics aspect. I've got to concentrate on everything else, because I've got in front of me not a slither of a child. I have in front of me a whole child that is growing holistically, that is growing in its whole. Okay, so these children will develop fine motor skills because I may give them some small slips of paper that they need to cut out and color, and then come up to the poster and paste them up. So we've got some coloring going on. We've got some scissor use. Anyone that works with small children knows that scissors can be a problem, because in order for me to use scissors, I need to use two hands. This hand does the cutting and this hand does the holding of the paper. So as I'm cutting, I'm doing this, and this arm is turning this way. So I'm cutting, I'm doing two different things with both of my arms. Now, if anybody remembers, you guys remember doing this back in when you went to grade school or something in gym class? It's very, very difficult sometimes because we get all confused and the coordination doesn't come so easily. But kids are developing coordination, and using both sides of their body at the same time, but doing different things, is complex, and it is part of the growing and the maturity of their coordination. So cutting is a really important skill. So I have them cut these little papers out, color them in, whatever it is we're working on. Let's just pretend we're working on, I don't know, sea animals. So they're cutting out these little fish, and then they're going to come up to my poster one at a time to put the fish up. Now, one at a time is like the secret phrase, but I'll get back to that in a moment. Gross motor skills, that's another thing we're working on. When I say the kids have to get up and go to the poster, they are not working with the poster on the table. They don't have the poster in front of them. They're not leaning on their face like this and coloring or painting or whatever it is they're doing on the poster. They're actually standing erect right in front of the poster that's on the wall. And in order to paint, I'm not, like this, just painting away like this. I'm standing and I'm using my shoulder muscles, my chest muscles, my arms to paint whatever it is I'm doing. So doing anything, even writing your name, standing up. I'm trying to do this on camera. It's kind of hard here on camera. When we move our whole arm to write something, remember when we're writing standing up, I'm just going to make an A for my name right here in front of me. I go up with my hand, I go down, and then I go across. When I write that same A on a piece of paper, I'm actually writing the piece of papers here. My A does not go up, it goes forward. And then I bring it back down and then across this way to cross my A. So what I'm doing here, I've got some visual motor integration going on. I have to realize that what I'm doing this way with this movement is actually the same thing as doing it this way. And that may seem kind of obvious to us because we're adults, but for a young child that's learning to read and write, that is learning, remember I work with little ones, that is still developing coordination, this is a big thing. So I like them to do all of that stuff standing up at the poster. That's why this poster, it's not just about language. I'm not just reviewing the names of the sea animals. I'm also allowing them to grow because I'm having them do things at the poster, standing up, using all of their torso, their core muscles, and their arms, shoulders, etc. So this is really, really good for something called midline crossing. Now, midline crossing, imagine we have an imaginary line going down the center of our face, all the way down our body. And what goes on over here is not going on over here. Okay, so When we actually cross this midline, okay, so bringing my right hand, for example, over to the left side, what I'm doing is I'm having both sides, both hemispheres in my brain actually communicate with each other. And of course, we do that all the time, right? But that wasn't a given. That didn't always happen. That's something that developed. And midline crossing usually occurs at a very, very young age, like 1.5 or 2. But it's something that needs work. You have to work on it. So sometimes there are children, even in elementary school, that still have a bit of difficulty with midline crossing. And especially nowadays, because kids don't button their shirts. Remember to button. Also, I have to cross over to the other side. We don't tie our shoes anymore. We've got slip-ons or Velcro. So there's a lot less of this crossing over the line. Now, crossing over the line is really important because look at my eyes. I'm going to really exaggerate the motion here, but imagine I was reading, okay? If I start reading on the left, and as I read, my eyes have to go to the right side of the page. And then when I go back to the next line, they have to come back over here, go down and read. And I'm doing this. Sorry, I'm doing that when I'm reading. And that means I'm crossing the line. Now, if I don't have good communication between my right hemisphere and my left hemisphere, I would have to blink every time my eyes hit the center, okay? So I'd have to stop here, blink, go over here, open my eyes again, read a little bit, close my eyes, blink, go over here. I'm exaggerating the motion, of course, but that's what's going on. And when you've got this non-fluid reading, you're going to get problems like dyslexia. You're going to get, well, not per force, but you might get something like dyslexia. You might have learning difficulties. You might have problems writing as well, because when we write, remember, we start over here and then we have to cross that invisible line to go over here and finish on this side of the page. How many kids have you seen that are all over on one side and just they keep their paper over here and they write over here and they will do everything possible not to cross the line, okay? I do that sometimes. I love to sit at my desk sideways and write this way, okay? Midline crossing issues are very common even in the early elementary. And sorry, I'm getting back here with my chair. Because they're very common, they can, like I said, lead to learning disabilities. So the earlier and the more I'm going to develop. Is really important. Myriad of other things, which is for a different video. I don't want to get into it too much, but this is something that I talk about in my course, English is Fun. I have a teacher training course for teachers or people who are not teachers but would like to be teachers for young children. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, I will leave a link down below in the description box. But anyways, back to our poster. We do a lot of exercises with midline crossing as well. So great, great, great for reinforcing those motor skills. Last week, we mentioned something about taking turns and how taking turns is a great strategy for kids that talk too much and that just can't control themselves and they blurt everything out. Because taking turns means you need to have self-control. And chatty kids usually don't have self-control. And when they have to wait their turn to go up to that poster and put up their little fish or whatever it is we're working on, they have to stop, get a little bit frustrated, wait for the other person to finish doing what they're doing. And that's great for developing self-control. It helps develop respect for other people, for other people's choices of color or whatever. Let's say everyone has to color a whale and you start coloring your whale blue. Someone wants to come up and when it's their turn, they want to color it red. Well, if you don't like it, you're just going to have to learn that, hey, that person liked it, so I have to accept it. So learning to take turns and respecting other people's times, how that my children are developing, and you too. And don't just think it stops in the early elementary years. This is learning to respect other people. Sometimes you wonder if, adults have ever really learned. So, yeah, that is another great skill, taking turns. And that's why I don't want to do the poster on the table. And this was for my follower who asked me the question last week. They're like, well, how does this work? I don't do it on the table, because if I did it on the table, if I had the poster on the table and all of the kids working at once, what's going to happen? Nobody's taking turns, right? Everybody's just doing their own thing, thinking about themselves and doing, singing a song in their head or whatever, but they are not respecting that other person's space, which is vital for just even getting along with other people, and learning to accept and use those social rules. So anyways, like I said, this was really great for chatty kids. And I'm just looking at, speaking of chat, I am a chatterbox. I know, I'm sorry. But checking my chat box here, I don't see any questions, but please let me know either in the chat now live, or if you're watching this at a later date, if you watch this after it's already gone live, please let me know in the box below if you saw last week's video. And if you didn't, I mean, I don't know if I can link, but I will try to link it like right there or here, don't know where. I will try to link it on this video so that you can go check that out, because I think that's it's a pretty good one if you're working with kids. I'm sure you've got chatty kids. Anyways, another thing that on with this poster are math skills. When we put our little fish up onto the poster, oh, sorry, with the lighting, I've got wonky lighting sometimes. We've got our fish, start talking about, how many whales are there? How many crabs or whatever, how many dolphins, whatever animals are up there. So we start classifying these sea animals into different types of animals. Once I've done that, I also like to classify how many of these animals are blue or pink or purple or whatever colors the kids have used to color. And again, here I'm really working on sets. So math skills, because I'm talking about animals actually overlap. So blue whales and how many blue fish, but some of them are going to be whales and some of them are going to be fish. And again, this bringing together, that is a really crucial mathematical skill that our kids have to learn. So I like working on different types of categorization, classification, seriations, as well. And like I said, I do get into this in my teacher training program. So I'm come and check it out. But English is Fun is all about developing the kids' learning skills. It's not just concentrating on language. I'm not interested in teaching kids fixed sentences like, hi, how are you? Or my name is, or the cat is on the chair. I'm not interested in giving them fixed sentences. I'm interested in teaching the language through the development of their natural learning skills, through regular common use of the language. I like to think that we're developing kind of like a tree. Like if language were a tree, I'm kind of developing the roots of the language, the infrastructure of the language. Because for me, for example, I know about, I don't know, I know the words, but I can't put them together. I can't make a sentence. And knowing how to make a fixed sentence, and then you go to Germany and someone speaks to you and says something completely different and they didn't use that fixed sentence and you don't know what they're saying, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's not learning the language. That's memorizing a phrase or a sentence. And I don't want to do that. I don't do that when I work with kids. They are learning in the most natural way possible. And that has to be by me, the teacher, respecting their natural. So that's pretty much it for the poster activity. Are there any questions? Let me check. I really hope I'm doing this right. I don't think there are any questions. Anyways, you may be wondering, oh, hey, do you put reading and writing on that poster? Do you write on that? and writing in the English is Fun program. For the first part, I should say, for children up until the age of 8. Afterwards, yeah, a little bit, but not at the beginning at all. And you might think, well, that's weird. And if you want to know why I do that, then make sure to check out the video that I'm going to put up on this screen right now. Okay, that's it. If you've got any more questions, pop them in the box below and I'll try to get back next week. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope you have a great evening. Bye.